It has been too long. How's it going? As always, Nate Mumford, Director of Sales Engineering here at RCS, ready and excited for another RCS Live. We were back from the road. We were at the CMB, the Christian Music Broadcasters, last week, which was a great event over there. Great to see a lot of familiar faces, and we're back over here as well, talking about GSelector and scheduling tips for you. This is a user-driven RCS Live today. I've been collecting a couple questions and tips and tricks for the past couple weeks, and I wanted to share them with you as a great video to kind of reference later as well. As you know, there is the full archive of all our videos over at rcsworks.com/rcs-live. We got our chat open as well. We can say good morning. Good morning, everybody. And so, for example, if you want to chime in on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or Twitter Live, I'm here taking those live questions for you as well. A couple housekeeping things to get out of the way. Don't forget backup data exchanges. Send those backups and data exchanges. Make sure they're working. Also, we are going to be back on the road. I know we have Texas Broadcasters. That's coming down the pipeline in August, and so much more. And so there's a full list of our events there on rcsworks.com. Let's see here. Oh, I know it's really exciting. Just so you know, we moved our offices to 1 North Broadway in White Plains, and I just had a couple of our clients in there checking out the demo room, which is all nice and fancy. And so just throw this out there. If you're in the New York City area and you want to stop by and talk programming, we have that demo room up and running as well, which is really, really cool. So let's see here. Beta users, always looking for beta users with a new GSelector, as well as Zeta, Quira, all that good stuff. And we're hiring as well. Very rare time for us to be hiring. So just so you know, that's over on the career page over at rcsworks.com. And thank you. That's our new location, 1 North Broadway, 14th floor, White Plains, right down the road from me. And you can hang out and we'll just talk some shop or show some stuff, show the latest and greatest RCS features and all of that good stuff, right? We're here for you. That's the whole point. So, as I said, chat is open, and let's go ahead and dive into some scheduling techniques inside of GSelector. So I have my GSelector open here, goals, priorities. This is my priority list here as well. I'll be honest with you, I purposely do not make this my rule set because, both we always joke and say we're not consultants, but also every station is different. I don't want to just show you this and think, well, this is what Nate has. I'm going to copy this as is and go from there. So just, there's some things that I play with clients and dance around here. So this is really kind of just a work, if you will, a work in progress in my priority list. But if you do want to dive deeper into it, let me know. Call up support as well. Just a reminder, too, the amazing support staff here at RCS, we're here to help you out. I always tell users in regards to rotations, don't call and say, hey, help me fix my rotations. It's kind of a broad thing, right? It's hard to help you when you say just kind of help me, but we want to. So look for specific questions like we'll cover today. The same song is playing in the same day, or I have a Monday and Friday. I want to kind of separate those days because I interpret the drive home on Friday as the same as Monday morning, stuff like that. And when you present those scenarios, it's a lot easier to help you and guide you in the right direction, right? If you remember, there's a video I did in the past over on the archive, maximizing rotations with GSelector's priority list. And the idea is that it's a philosophical idea. You go through your editor position by position to identify what you like and what you don't like. Because remember, the G in GSelector stands for goal-based scheduling. We want you to do this. We want you to do that, but don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, right? New school thoughts on scheduling. And there's some great videos too with John Bonneau talking about some great scheduling techniques. I love those as well. So let's dive right into it. So the very first thing that I always highlight, I always tell this to new users. I'm going to be honest, this is kind of like always my go-to. And the reason is it's a quick and dirty way to fix some of your rotations. So I'm going to jump for a quick second to my analysis. Again, this is my demo database. Don't quote me on some of these spins and all of that. They're just kind of here to show clients and test some things out. But if you ever have a category, especially the gold category, let's keep it simple. You're supposed to have 7 spins a week, but you see the category has like 10 and has like 4, right? That separation's pretty vast for 7 spins a week. We want to kind of narrow that gap to 7 for all songs, right? So one of the great things that I like to do, and again, I'm just going to the analysis, running analysis here, sorting by my my category or my spins. I'm looking for that deviation, right? So you can see off the bat, like 44 versus 33. That's a very vast from my C's. And of course, again, demo database, don't quote me on these things here. But there is a goal inside the goals and the priorities, and it's called Airplay Starvation. I'm going to jump to the all here right now, but see that Airplay Starvation, right? What that Airplay Starvation does is it works on a percentage from 150 to 200. 150, treat that as 1.5 times through the scheduling process, and 200 is 2 times through. So if I'm an asset, let's just say I have a lot of songs by the similar artist, or a lot of a very polarizing sound code, whatever it could be, right? The idea is that I'm always kind of got a couple nicks in that score. So I'm always 1 or 2 points lower than the next available song. If I go 1.5 times through the category and I still haven't scheduled it, we start to encourage GSelector to schedule those assets, right? That's what Airplay Starvation does. Now, I'll be very honest with you. This is not for current categories. It's really meant for those, deep recurrence or those gold-based categories, right? Because the idea is that if you have 3 songs or 5 songs, whatever it is, there's not a lot of depth there to really have Airplay Starvation to work its magic. Instead, we're talking about those 50 songs, 100 songs. But when you get to those gold-based stations, where there's like 200 songs in the category, think about that. Adjust your depth. So it's like 35% down, something like that. Throw on Airplay Starvation, and you're going to get a nice turnover of that category. And remember, part of what GSelector does is it creates a natural shuffle. When you have enough of these goals and rules in place, we're creating a natural shuffle in that category, and Airplay Starvation helps you do that, right? And as you can see, it's just a very simple goal. It's one of those on-off goals, kind of like, I'm trying to think what are the ones that are in here, like the timing goal and stuff like that. It's truly an on-off. So you can put it as 100 or whatever it may be, but that's going to be essentially an on-off goal here. And if you go to your setup, I'm going to save my changes for right now. Setup, station, features, and under advanced, you'll see a maximum Airplay Starvation turnover percentage. That's the 150 versus the 200 that we talked about before, right? So that's where you define that. Typically, what I'll do is for new users, I like to kind of always ease into these goals and rules. So if you want to play around with your database, I always try to start with, let's say, Airplay Starvation. I'll do a 175, 1.75 times through the category. See if you like it, see if you don't, and then get more aggressive or less aggressive, depending on what you need to do. But that's, again, setup, station, features, advanced, maximum Airplay Starvation turnover percentage. Really cool way. Tighten those numbers in your gold-based categories. Next, while we're here, by the way, I love this. Separate band priorities. And by the way, if you notice too, you can click that checkbox, or it's a really cool hidden feature. If you just click on the text, you can see that text is right there as well, just so you see that too. So check that checkbox. Separate band priorities, I think, is huge. Think of your sound code. I'm just going to throw this out there. Let's just say, don't play a pop into pop into pop. If you're a top 40 station, you really might have that transition happening a couple times, and you might be okay with it, right? That could be a breakable rule. Whereas if you have a pop, pop, pop into a fourth pop, yeah, that's a no-go. That's a no for me. So in that case, you want to separate these band priorities, because what you can do is define the sound code, but specifically the pop, pop, pop versus sound code 4 pops in a row, right? Hey, MJ, how's it going? Thanks for checking in. I appreciate it. Yeah. How's it going, man? Great seeing you too. Any questions, let me know. And so what you can do here is, if you go back to my goals, I'm not going to save my changes. And you can see here, I have these segues all banned in here, right? So look at that sound code, sound code, sound code. And what I can do now is right click, make this unbreakable, and these breakable. Again, showing GSelector will do exactly what you want it to do. I want you to do this. And this is where you get those great tweaks and those great transitions, because what you're doing is you're telling GSelector At times, it's okay to do this, but never do that, right? And if you heard me in these RCS lives in the past, you know I like my control. It is what it is. I love control of my database, and that's a great way of doing that. So again, that's a really, really, I encourage you to do that. I'm not going to save my priorities here. Set up station features advanced, separate band priorities, turn that on. It's station specific as well. Going to really help you out there, just so you know. Any questions, MJ? If you got one, let me know. Again, we're here live every Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter Live. We've got the archive as well over at rcsworks.com/rcs-live. Let's talk about for a second our restrictions versus our rotations, right? I'm going to go to this rotation rule window here. Make it nice and big. If I double click it, that'll expand my window there. Just so you know, that click on that header, it's going to expand it. It's really, really helpful. I just increased my resolution here. That's why that's a little cut off my other monitor. So I'll just do this for you and watch this. Double click. Boom. Shout out to Stan and the man in support. That was one of the Stan's enhancements way back when. We joked about this years and years ago. It's very, very helpful. Reminder, show assigned values, checked, unchecked, right? Because you want to have all of that nonsense there, only things you care about. So show assigned values to make any changes. And by the way, F1, dynamic help. Look at this, rotation rules window. Well, this is quite helpful. In addition, if only there was a way this help guide broke down every one of these rules. Oh, yes, it does. So shout out to Teresa, too, who does this, an amazing job for these help guides. And that's the same in Zeta, too, and Acquira, F1 dynamic help. It's just huge. And you can see here we're talking about our restrictions. So here's the deal. When it comes to our restrictions, our rotation here, right? So the idea is when you're rotating hours, the big thing I want to convey to you is when you think of the hour rotation rule, don't think of it as essentially a 24/7 in that particular day. Instead, what we're talking about is individual day part hours, right? So if I'm rotating day parts, it's like saying if I scheduled an AM drive, I have to schedule X number of times in the middays, afternoon, nights, and overnights before I return back to the original day part of my initial spin, right? If I'm doing the hour rotation, it is the hour within the day part that you're rotating. So very simple, traditional radio day parts here. Afternoon drive is 2 to 7, right? AM drive will say 6 to 9, whatever it is. If I'm rotating the hours, right, across all of these, just be conscious of those day parts. So for example, if I do a copied all day parts, specifically with the morning drive versus afternoon drive, let's just say I put in a day part rotation of 3 or 4. Well, that's the hours. So if I play at 6 a.m., that means I have to play at 7 a.m., 8 a.m. Ooh, I'm out of hours. Guess what? Your fourth spin in morning drive will always be unscheduled because the hour rotation rule is defined by the day part itself. So just make sure you're conscious of the overnight hour rotation versus the typical everyday. And sometimes, for me personally, that's a goal that I like to encourage, our rotation goal, because again, you're not saying you can never not do this, right? Instead, we're saying do your best to rotate the hour. So 6 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m. Hey, I got to go back to 6, 7. I really got to go back to 6 again, right? Not the end of the world. We're still rotating our hours based on score. Again, giving a natural turnover and natural shuffle of our category. So really cool stuff there. But again, that's a heads up. The hour rotation is always based on the day part. Double check your day parts because you don't want to have a too high of an hour rotation rule in comparison to essentially the day part defined, right? Again, the other example there too is for me, I always isolate my overnights into a different priority list because that overnight has 6 hours of rotations versus a typical, let's say, AM or PM drive that's a little tighter in those spins, right? A little helpful there too. Oh, and by the way, Airplay Starvation, remember? Not currents, only golds. So what I do here is I typically do some type of copy priority list and do a gold or recurrent, and don't forget to assign that to essentially your different priority list there as well, right? Any questions here? I got like one or two more points, but I want to make this quick here. So if you have any questions for me regarding scheduling, any techniques, any questions, I'm here to help out. I got my comment section going as well. So we covered already the Airplay Starvation, working with the rotation rules window, by the way. Don't forget down here, the F3 copy above cell, F8 copy above row. That's huge. Don't forget about that, right? So if you can see here, there's a 5 over here. If I click on this row right now and do an F8, notice how it's 5, 5, 5. That's a really helpful tool. So what I typically like to do, because let's be honest, there's a lot of metadata here that you can control. But if you're like me, I like control. This is an empowering screen, not intimidating. It's empowering. And so what you can do here is you can look at the spread goal cutoff, min sep, max sep, max skip, day part rotation, hour rotation, again, tied to your day part. Days at a day part, play windows, yesterday, same hours, all of that good stuff. What I like to do is find a particular category for a particular day part and use that F8 copy above row. I work left to right, get all the rules I want, all the values I want, and then, of course, do an F8 to copy. And don't forget, too, there's also ways here to break down the individual categories themselves. So if I'm doing, let's say, a min sep, I might pick all A's first, all day parts, define it, copy above rows, switch another category, and go from there, right? Work smarter, not harder. Yes. And by the way, since we're here, let's wrap up and talk about yesterday, same hour, and yesterday versus prior day, and prior day, the hour. Just to kind of break this down, it behaves the same across yesterday and prior day. The idea is that if I have a song that's scheduled at 12 o'clock on the dot on Monday, right? If I have yesterday's same hour, I can't play between Tuesday, 12 to 12:59, same hour next day, right? Now, the reverse of this, not the reverse, but the second part of this is the yesterday defined time. Because think about it this way. If I play it Monday at noon, and if I have yesterday's same hour, but not the timestamp, I can play a song and schedule it on Tuesday at 11:59, right? Now, you ask yourself this. I'll pick you on you, MJ. Are you okay with scheduling a song on Monday at 12 and Tuesday at 11:59? To me, no, that's not okay with me. Are you okay with 11:40? Are you okay with 11:20? Are you okay with 11 or 10:40, 10:30, right? So for me, I made a point for my classic hit station when I was a PD that was my at work fun crowd. I got to really make sure I really bunker down on those rotations for the day part of, essentially middays and afternoon drive. And so what I did is for that particular day part, I increased the yesterday by like an hour and 20 minutes, moving both the hour as well as the quarter hour for those PPM markets as well, right? Just ways to create natural rotation, natural turnover in those PPM clocks. And that way, if I played at noon on Monday, I would have to play at like 10:40 on Tuesday. And think about where your listener's mindset is when you think about that. 10:40, at work versus 12 at work, a very different mindset when you're talking about scheduling your music. The only difference there between yesterday and prior day, think of yesterday as Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Friday, all that stuff. The weekend gets interesting based on your music philosophy. Prior day is Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, stuff like that. And of course, we mentioned earlier, some of our users like to actually go and they have a little kind of, I treat Friday like yesterday's Monday. So even though it's yesterday by definition, I want a little bit of a tweak there. So I'm not going to save my changes. Go over here to setup, station, days of the week. And here's where you can define those days. So typically by default, we have a Monday, Sunday. That's where you might want to go and put in a Friday, right? So Monday's Friday. Think about that drive home. If it's Friday at 4:45 versus Monday at 9:15, that's kind of the same mindset, right? And so by defining those days of the week based on your music philosophy, we have a lot more control in how GSelector schedules those days. And then I'll be honest with you, I've had everything back and forth with Saturday and Sunday. It's really up to you. What I typically do, and I kind of, I'll be honest with you, I go back and forth based on my philosophy. I either do a Saturday to Saturday and a Sunday to Sunday, because when you think about how that yesterday behaves, I don't want to play a song at noon on Saturday, and then the next week noon on Saturday, because that is a very specific listener versus a Saturday and Sunday. You could argue that if I listen to a song on Saturday at noon and then Sunday at noon, again, similar behavior. But me personally, I kind of keep these as a prior day in the previous week. Other users can also mix up the regions so that all weekends are isolated by themselves. There's a lot of things you can do there in regards to Saturday and Sunday, just so you know. Same thing with prior day. You can do Monday, Saturday, Tuesday, all that stuff. That's in there too. You can define those prior days in there as well. I've seen some users, because obviously with a Tuesday, Sunday, do you care? Depends on your rotations. If you find yourself having a very big, a 2-day rotation in the same hour, something like a 48-hour, turnover, then yeah, I might keep that as an unbreakable rule. Whereas if I have, let's say, typically a day in 10 hours on my rotations, on my categories, yeah, I might do a Tuesday, Sunday, make that a breakable rule, right? So I care about it, but not too much. And those are things you can do where you can define those breakable, unbreakable rules in GSelector. Remember, I want you to do this. I want you to do that. I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to do that, right? That's the idea. Total control. That's the game plan. Finally, want to talk about past days. I'm not going to save my settings here. Past days. Past days work based on numbers. So if you notice, days of the week have a defined number of days of the week. I just kind of hinted that if you have a Tuesday and Sunday prior day, I don't really truly care about that per se, but maybe I do. Whereas that Saturday, I just told you I had a Saturday yesterday. That's like a week. If I care about how far back we go in that schedule, we're talking about past days. Notice it's numbers, not the days of the week. So if I am, days back, 1, that's going to be my yesterday. 2 is going to be prior day, going all the way back to 7, which is the same spin in the previous week. Now, what I've seen is a lot of users kind of start aggressive on 1, because that's yesterday, ease up the score a little bit on 2, which is prior day, and then maybe do just a little, like 100, 50, 25, 0, 0, 0. But then I've seen a lot of users take that 7, make this back 100 again. Because go back to, let's say, Monday, right? You're at work, classic hits, gold-based, fun station. I am Monday at noon. You know what that feels like, right? Monday at noon. If I then go back to the previous Monday at noon, think of that listener mindset at Monday at noon and Monday at noon. That's a very specific listener from both those time periods. Whereas if it's Monday at noon versus, let's say, a Thursday at noon, very different mindset of that listener, right? There's a rotation there, a randomness in there. But again, Monday at noon, Monday at noon, Friday at noon, stuff like that. That's why you might want to do something like this. So I've seen a lot of users do 75, 50, 0, 0, 0, 100, something like that, right? Just to have a little kind of hey, really don't do this. Try not to do this. If you do it, fine, whatever. This I do not care about. And then finally 7 days. Yeah, I really care about that previous, right? And notice that's not yesterday prior day. It's going to be just essentially just the day that I choose with a number behind back there, right? Makes sense? Right? Last call for questions here. I was going to wrap this up for today's RCS Live. Again, we're covering GSelector scheduling tips and tricks for you. We covered Airplay Starvation. Remember, you can set that setup station features advanced. This is essentially as you go through that category 1.5 times through. If I haven't scheduled yet, make sure you schedule. Takes those spin counts. If the average spin is 7 and you got a 10, you got a 4, you're going to see a lot more of 8 and 6s with that Airplay Starvation in there. A quick, easy, just boom, just do that, enable it on your gold-based categories or your high turnover categories, your low turnover categories, and make that work over there. We covered the difference between the hour rules and hour rotations, right? So the idea that hour rotations is going to be essentially based on the day part that you want to make sure. Typically, I like to put a goal in there versus a rule. Just be careful of those day parts, right? AM drive, if you want to copy it all day parts, because AM drive has got 3 hours versus the overnight that has 6. Just be conscious of those hour rotation rules. Separate band priorities. That's over here too. And setup station features advanced. The idea that I'm breaking up the sound code band. I want you to, let's say, have pop, pop, pop is going to be a breakable segue band versus pop, 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 pop is an unbreakable rule, right? Control. And then finally, we have there defining yesterday, prior day, and past day. That's setup station. And of course, over here, days of the week and past days. Notice too, by the way, setup station. These are station specific, just so you know as well. So you might have a, maybe a top 40 Monday, Friday, maybe a gold base classic hits, could be a Monday, Sunday, not as big, up to you, but you have a lot of control here. And again, past days, typically we've seen some users do like 75, and we'll do like a 50, and again, 100 for the previous day. In fact, I'm going to save that in my database for a later lesson there too. Makes sense? Good stuff. Awesome. Hopefully get you going a little bit, do some testing, check that analysis. I love the analysis tool. Make some changes, look for positions. You should have 0 unscheduled positions. Be very clear here. GSelector, 0 unscheduled positions. That's the idea. And then from there, of course, run the analysis, check those numbers. Don't forget here, because I can see I got a question coming in from Mo. I'm going to get you in 2 seconds. Don't forget, you can check off these day parts as well. So me, typically, if I generate analysis over here, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't care about overnights. Get rid of it. Toss it, right? Generate the analysis one more time. Boom. These are the numbers I care about, right? Let's see. You got in, Mo. Boom. Information country, South Africa, but tools can jobs. Yes. So Mo's talking about here. He's just a little quick one here. I'll get you, Mo. He's GSelector reports, running version 4.9. Awesome. And my system is configured this way. Interface association, country, South Africa. Under tools, configs, job, monthly associations. I can see there. He's talking about over here. So in the interface and the association reports, you can have it drop down here for association. And you have the country down here and the reports of that country. So you can see here in the United States, whereas South Africa has these different reports on there as well. Station settings. I'll poke you here, Mo, because I'm curious of what you're trying to achieve here. Because you always change that country, but if you're talking about the defaults, that's a different question. So this is the purpose of the RCS lives. Mo, I'm going to poke you on Facebook and dive deeper into there as well. As you know, we're always here to help out. That's part of the purpose of RCS Live. You can ask your question, just dive in, and we'll cover that as well. So I'll be reaching out to you, Mo, and I'll see everybody else next Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time for another RCS Live. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you next